Hello, guys, gals, and non binary pals. Thank you for joining us for another episode of GSC's Girl Pod. If you are tuning in for the first time, the second time, and hopefully not the last time, hello, my name is Candy, and I am joined today by Britt. How you doing, Britt?
We're here.
We do be here.
We be out here.
We're here. It is I'll say me coming down from the Pax East high, which also means a little bit of con crud, but we're gonna get through this episode. We're gonna talk about things. There's sales going on Steam. There's games that we played that I'll be talking about. But before we start, if you're not already following the channel, please be sure to click that subscribe button. You can also catch the weekly news podcast, which also Sean was on the weekly news podcast this past week, also talking about his experiences at PAX East. And he had some different ones. So if you want to hear some other games, make sure to check that out. And if listening to us each week is not enough because maybe you need a few more than 2 to 3 hours a week, be sure to check out gamersocialclub.ca. That's the website we write for. There's going to be editorials, guides, news, reviews, written for gamers by gamers. And if you're subscribed to the channel, you may also see that there are some interviews that have gone up with devs, and we're gonna make that more of a common thing. So we're working on some of that as well. And if that's still not enough, looking at all the backlog of stuff that we have there for you, join the Discord server. The Discord server, the link is in the description, and you can just come and chat with us on a real-time basis. Um, so that's the whole rigmarole, the whole intro. If you want like the pillars and the guides for all the news and stuff that we do, that's a Harry thing, and you can go check that out on the news podcast. We are gonna dive right in to what are we drinking today, because I want to take a sip from this delicious thing. And look, I know capitalism is awful, and I know big corporations are awful, and I know McDonald's is awful for you. However, they have a bangin' frappe, and no one can tell me anything different. The mocha frap just hits so different when you're like, "Damn, I talked a lot for the last week, and I'm still here yapping, and I need something a little cold, a little smooth, delightful, and delicious, and I have no regrets." What are you drinking, Brit?
No regrets. Um, so last episode of Girl Pod, we did the suggestion of the banana pudding cloud latte.
Mhm.
Okay, I got one again yesterday to bring home and basically dissect so I can make my own at home because we all know that I have my own. I like to do those things. So, da 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 da. My own. We're gonna call this the pudding cloud latte. Uh, but it's completely lactose free.
Okay.
So it's basically excuse me, 2 shots of espresso, oat milk, and then for the foam, uh Croc, what is it? Something Country Crock, I think the brand is,
Okay.
makes a um plant-based whipping cream.
Ooh, okay.
So basically it does the same thing as regular whipping cream. You can whip it up with your frother and it
Yeah.
makes like the cloud on top.
Nice.
So I just added banana bread coffee syrup and a little bit of vanilla syrup to give it that. I won't say it's exactly like it. I don't it like they must put pudding mix in their foam on top. I'm thinking
Mhm.
that's what their like piece de resistance is that like they add to make it firm,
Right.
but add it whatever. I didn't have banana pudding, but I think that's the key. So we've got what we got, but the fact that it's completely lactose free and my hot girl tummy problems won't be affecting me today.
That's
That's
huge.
that's all that matters. And it tastes great too. Like if that's what you got at home, but if you're
Mhm.
looking to make that at home and not spend 6, 7, $8,
Right.
yeah,
No, I mean,
that's what we
that's
got.
huge.
I
That's
mean,
ugh,
I will
funny.
say it is a heavy drink, but
Okay, so it's
But
funny because I got one the other day. So I got one
mhm,
after you had mentioned it, and it was delicious. Then I got a second
mhm,
one, like, a couple days
mhm,
later, and I don't know what they did, but they, like, ruined it or not ruined it, but they made it more like a frosty consistency instead of like a drink consistency, and then the flavors didn't mix as well, and I was like, so instead of it just being like the cloud on top, it was
mhm.
like everything was thick, and I was like, "Because everything is thick, it's not like, the flavors aren't blending the
No,
way you would want it to." And I was like, "What
no,
did you do?"
no, because then it's not layers, then
Right.
it's like, ugh,
Yeah, I was like,
that's
"Why'd you do
sad.
this to me?" I was so about that drink until
Okay,
they messed it up.
Dunkin'. Dunkin' themselves, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast, you either get the best drink in the entire world
Mhm.
or it's fucking swamp water,
Yep,
and there's
yep.
no middle ground.
Mhm.
There's no middle ground. I will say the one I had yesterday was, like, perfection, and I was like, "Oh, I could die drinking this," and I was like, don't finish it till we get home, don't finish it till we get home," because I was like, "I I need to dissect this." But, yeah, I think that's Dunkin'. I think it's that with any big corporation, like,
Mhm.
you're, like, amazing, and then you get swamp water.
Yeah, it was just so
Um,
sad. I was so sad.
yeah. But if you like this, you wanna make it at home, very easy ingredients. Like I said, um, I think their, like, secret ingredient is pudding mix in their
Mhm.
foam.
That makes sense.
So but for those who can't have real whipping cream because you also have hot girl tummy problems, um, I think it is Country Crock. I'm going to double check right now,
Yeah, hell yeah.
'cause, um
I like to say we have the information of the world at our fingertips. You also have to
yeah,
sometimes get rid of the not so good information, but it's there so you can
yeah.
confirm the name.
Yes, it is. It's Country Crock
Okay,
Homestyle, dairy-free.
nice.
I know places like Walmart carry it. There are a couple other brands, like, um, I know Aldi has their own, the Friendly Farms version. I have
Okay,
not come across it yet, though. It could
okay,
just not be at my Aldi's.
fair.
So, there are a couple options of plant-based heavy whipping cream if you are lactose intolerant or just can't handle lactose. So, there are options out there.
Hey, it's
So
just good to know they exist.
I mean, you have to search for things if your body can't handle certain things, but you still want to exist
Mhm.
or have the fun things. That's what you gotta do. So,
Oh, my body will just be
uh,
fighting me later, it's okay. I already know it'll
oh
be
yeah,
angry with me. Fine.
just 3 rounds.
No, I'm like, "It's fine. It's early. We're recording this early, so I'll have all day to deal with it.
Yeah,
It's fine."
yeah, yeah.
But
It's also Saturday, so
it is Saturday. It is. It's the Saturday. I have nothing planned after this. I have things to do, but nothing
yeah.
planned. Um,
Mhm.
so that's fine. Actually, thinking of the things that I've planned will be a nice segue into fantasy guest. Um,
Ooh, what do we got on the
because
bracket?
some of the things that I still need to do are put out a few more of those video interviews
Mm,
with developers from Pax East. Um, so one of them is with the solo dev from the Mortuary Assistant, who is now working on a paranormal activity game.
okay.
His name is Brian Clark. Very lovely to speak with. Um, Also, like, it was funny because the first thing I said, I was like, "Your demo that you had at PAX scared the crap out of me." Um, and to the point where I put in our chat with, like, the writers and stuff that when the Paranormal Activity game comes out, I am not the one reviewing it, right? I had already put that out there because I could not finish the demo. Like, the demo had me, like I could feel the stress in my body from the
Oh.
scare, right? And it's because of the way that the tension is built, and it's the way that there's the silence and the not silence. And then this is the other thing that really got me, right?
Mhm.
The game is based in Rochester, New York. And I'm like, I have been to Rochester, so I can imagine all of
Yeah.
these things, right? And he mentions this like on the interview that will go up hopefully within a day or two of this podcast going up. Um, Part of the reason that it ended up in Rochester is because to seep it into realism, right? He wanted to find what states do you have to declare if you think a house is haunted. New York is one of them. And
Okay,
because
okay.
you're investigating like the death of this young couple, he set a price point and said, "Where in New York could I find a house at this price point for this young couple?" And Rochester was what came up. Right? So he went on Zillow and he's doing this research, which I think is actually really cool, right?
Yeah.
I think and it grounds it so much in reality. But so when it pops up and it says Rochester, New York, July 2025, right? And all these things, I'm like, okay.
Fuck. Fuck, that's real that's a little too close to home.
It feels very real, right? It feels
Yeah.
real.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, so now I'm already in this mindset because I'm like, I've been to Rochester, I've stayed in Rochester before, right? That's where Sean went to college, so we've been in the area, right? So I'm like, it feels so familiar, right? And then you're playing as this young couple, and you're sort of just watching them try to make this house their own. Right? And I'm like, well, that's a feeling that I think most young adults
Mhm.
have felt, right? Where
Mhm.
you move into some place new and you're cleaning it up and you're deciding where things will go, and all of this is like through found footage, right? So and that's the, very much the paranormal activity movies where you're watching it through found footage. So it's found footage of, I'll say the husband, 'cause I don't remember if they're married or not, but the husband who is like recording this journey of theirs. They find some stuff that is unsettling, and then they are found dead, and then you come in as the investigator who is trying to figure out what happened, and some of that is as the investigator finding things around the house while there's 2 dead bodies just chilling there with you. Exactly, and then the other way that you're unraveling more of what happened is by finding cassette tapes and watching the cassette tapes, so still very much the found footage feeling that you get in a Paranormal Activity movie, right? So, am playing and now mind you, the setup that they had for Paranormal Activity there was, it was Dread XP was I don't know if they're the publisher or the PR firm, but, um they had a indoor space where you could play the Paranormal Activity demo, right?
Mhm.
And that was people brought in, I think, like 8 at a time, indoor, sort of indoor because it's in the convention center, and it's dark and you're
Mhm.
playing this game, right? I was playing this out in the open. I'm playing this
Oh,
on
okay.
the show floor, right? So I'm
Okay.
not even in the dark room
No,
playing this
no, no,
game.
no, 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 no,
I'm
no,
on the
no.
show floor playing this game. It's bright all around me. But the music and the tone of everything and just so well done. Like, everything about it is so well done. Literally, at one point, because I'm playing with, the controller, and something popped up, and I literally dropped the controller and screamed on the show floor, right? Like, that's how terrifying this was. Meanwhile, it's bright.
God.
It's bright and there's people all around me, and I'm still, like, terrified of this thing, and I could feel my body being tense, and I could feel the adrenaline being like, "Just walk away," and I tried to play a little bit more, something else happened, and then finally I was like, "Okay, like, I'm good."
I'm done.
Right? I
Mm.
was like, I can't punch this screen. It is not mine. I don't wanna be liable for this." And I
Mhm.
literally had to get up and, like, shake it off. I was like, "Oh my god." Um, So all of this to come back and say that when they were like, "Oh, do you wanna speak to the dev?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely. Let me speak to the dev." And the first thing I tell him is, "Your demo was so terrifying, I couldn't finish it." Right? And I kid you not, the biggest smile comes on his face, and he's like, "But you're the perfect people that we want playing these types of games because we can get the authentic reaction from you." And I was
Mhm.
like, "But it is terrifying." And he's like, "Yes, we like to terrorize you just a little bit, but it shows that we're doing a good job." And part of the and part of that, like, banter was, like, he would be a fun podcast, like, guest,
Yeah.
right? He would
Yeah.
be someone that would be very easy to speak to, and it would be really interesting as, like, a solo dev, right, to hear more because the interview
Mhm.
that will go up is a shorter one and very much focused on paranormal activity, right? Um, but it would be interesting to hear more about the journey with mortuary assistant because at the time of this all happening at PAX, Mortuary Assistant also had a movie come out, right? So now there's a Mortuary Assistant movie that premiered on Shudder.
I did not know that. But I think it's probably because it's on
Is
Shudder, and I am not a
Mhm.
horror movie fan,
Right. Unless you're a horror
even
movie fan, you
remotely.
probably don't have Shudder,
Yes, yep.
right? And we talked about it very, very briefly. Because all right, I like to do my research before speaking to people if and when I
Mhm,
can, right? So I knew that this was coming out. So I had said, I was like, "You have a very busy, like, weekend because the movie's coming out." And he was like, "Yeah, it's coming out on Shudder." Um, and he does mention that they did a premiere at, like, a mortuary, right? Like, so they were very much in theme with it, and I was like, "Okay, this is very cool." So it'd be really interesting to hear a deeper dive of, making this solo game, how it blew up because I feel like anybody who likes horror has played Mortuary Assistant, and
mhm.
then the journey of it becoming a movie, right? And how that
Yeah,
conversation goes because now you have the reverse happening where he's making a game that's already based on a pretty well-known movie series, right?
yeah.
And working with so many different partners to get that done. Right. So then and we've talked about creative control and what that all looks like, in different context on the podcast. But then it's like, what does creative control look like? Because you're now working with something very established, right?
Mhm.
And bringing in your own vibes and feels and trying to keep it very horror focused, right? And trying to elicit very much like reactions, but you can't do it all found footage because whereas the movies are all found footage because then there's not as much gameplay. Um,
Yeah.
so it'd be really interesting to hear that and then hear, more of like the inspirations for his own games, what it's like being a solo dev, right? Especially in
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
gaming sphere as it is right now. And to be like a fairly successful solo dev, right? Because again, Mortuary Assistant, I'm probably never gonna play it because it's scary.
I've watched gameplay, I've
I've
never played
watched
it
it.
myself. That is not a game for me. I'll play Phasmophobia, I'll play Demonologist, I'll play a couple of those, like, ghost hunting games, but, like, Visage and,
I tried that, never again.
no,
That
no, I won't even
the feeling that I got from Paranormal Activity was very much the feeling that I got from Visage.
I have friends that are horror game fanatics, and even they said, like, Visage and Mortuary Assistant are the, like, 2 of the only games that have truly ever frightened them.
I mean, that was literally me. I couldn't play the rest of Visage. I played it for about 2, maybe 2.5 hours. Um,
Mm,
I did save the VOD somewhere because I was like, "This is terrifying," and I just wanna prove that, like, I tried it and I never have to try it again.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
No,
I, that was one where I felt it in my body so much, and,
Mhm.
like, Sean went for a walk, came back, and he was like, "Are you crying?" And I was like no, but that's how, like, tense and everything my body was, and that was what I
Mhm.
started to feel with Paranormal Activity.
Mm. Yeah.
So, for people who like horror, great.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, a little, a little too much.
I've watched people play like, I have a streamer that I like to watch that, like, exclusively does horror. Like,
Mhm.
that's their jam. I don't like horror movies. I enjoy horror books, and I
Fair.
enjoy, the ghost hunting games.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I would count DBD as a horror game. It kind of is. You've got
Kind
horror
of.
horror
Elements.
killers in it. Yeah, but I don't like the feeling of being scared, and it maybe it's being a millennial and
Fair.
always feeling scared. But Mortuary Sin, I've watched the whole thing and it's terrifying.
Mhm.
It's terrifying, but I am so interested in seeing what the movie is about now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, and
I hate horror movies, but since it's based off that game, it's like
Mhm. All the reviews that I've seen, because again, like, in thinking about, um, conversations and stuff, um, any reviews that I've seen are that they stayed very true to the source material of the game,
mhm,
which I think is good, and I think that's because
yeah,
he did have a pretty good say in the movie, um
mhm,
You know? So I'm curious. I don't mind horror movies, but they're definitely like, I am watching this with the lights on. I'm watching this, like, with friends, like, things like that. So, um, but, at the time that of PAX when I was speaking to him, um, there weren't a ton of reviews out for the movie because the movie literally just was coming out that day. Um So I'd also be curious, like, you know, it's one thing to see the feedback on a game, and you can see it sometimes like so quickly and automatically, like when you're at a con and you're demoing the game and you're watching people's
mhm,
reactions, right? So now to see the reaction of here's this movie that's based on this game that I made and again, as a solo dev, right? Like,
mhm,
that is huge, and then also to be trusted with a series like Paranormal Activity as a solo dev, right? Like,
mhm,
that I mean, I think in some ways that has to probably be pretty flattering, right? To be like,
yeah,
"Wow, they know that I can do this well enough that this is,
mhm,
what they're trusting me with." Um, but also just, like, what does everything else look like after that, right? Like, where do you go from something like Mortuary Assistant and Paranormal Activity? Because he's put out other games. I don't and again, as someone who is not a horror person, right? Any horror fans can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Mortuary Assistant was maybe the biggest one that he put out.
mhm,
And then now Paranormal Activity obviously is going to have a lot
yeah,
of buzz and a lot of people interested. So it's like, so what's next? Like, where are you going next? Right. So looking at some of his horror, obviously Mortuary Assistant, Paranormal Activity, different subgenres of horror, I guess you could say, right? Because the found footage idea, the house, the investigation, Mortuary Assistant, there's demons, there's, the feeling of all the dead bodies, obviously, but they
yeah,
feel kinda different, and then I'm looking at some of the other stuff that he's done. One was, like, a game where you're abducted, um, another one is you're transported to a testing facility in space, so it seems like there's always these different themes with his games, right? So what comes next? How do you top that? How do you do something that's still different but terrifying because that seems to be what he excels at, terrifying. Like
yeah, yeah.
and how do you
S
get people like
yeah,
me who will be very reactive to
Mhm.
then play your game, right? And maybe that's the biggest challenge and the biggest thing to dive into, right? I did it because it was like Dano sent an email being like, "Hey, like, do you want to check this out? They're booking times." And I was like, "Well, it's a scary game, but all right, I'll try it out because I'll take one for the
Mhm.
team." Because it's like I knew that between Sean and I, like neither one of us are really horror people, but we do
Mhm.
have a lot of people on the team who do like horror. So I was like, "Okay, let me check this out." And then I can report back to the team so that if somebody else is interested, we can keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. And especially, like, I think it's kind of, like, because of the great quality of the game, it's like, I don't despite it being a horror game, you don't wanna pass up the
Mhm.
chance to try out a game
Yes.
regardless of what kind it is.
And I've
Like,
watched some of the movies.
yeah.
So I'm familiar with the context, and
Mhm.
and then, of course, also 'cause I'm like, "I've watched some of the movies, how bad can the game be?" Well, it's very different being a passive observer and being the active player in the game.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Um, I've watched the first Paranormal Activity, and after that, I was like, "Nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nah. Mm-mm."
Mhm. Yeah, so this is,
Yeah.
for horror people, I think it's definitely one, for them to look out for, and again, like, speaking with the dev and him just being, like, genuinely, like, easy to talk to, nice, very personable. Like, I feel like that would be really a fun person to have on the podcast, and especially knowing that his perspective is, but you're the type of players we want playing this because you're reactive, right? Like,
Mhm.
diving deeper into that, like, so do you think there's a chance to create a game that maybe doesn't seem so scary on the outset to, like,
Mhm.
lure some of us into a false sense of security and get us to play, and what is that challenge like, and is it challenging getting people like me to play outside of like a PAX or something like that, right? And how do you deal with that? But I feel like that would be a really fun fantasy guest for the podcast. And obviously
I
right now I know he's super busy because the game's not out, and there's lots of stuff to do with it.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line.
Yeah. My question is, what are we gonna do in, like, 20 years when v cassette tapes and videotapes are completely obsolete and people don't even know what they are? They're from the 1900s, um, to explain things in
Mm.
games. Because I was thinking about that when you were talking about, like, how you found the cassette player and the tapes, and I'm like, "We're tapes are becoming everything's
Mhm.
cloud now, like, what do we how are we gonna perceive games?" Like, they
Hard
gave me
drives,
there's the
their
hard
flash
drive
drive.
and yeah, I
It'll be like a
downloaded it from the
flash drive,
cloud.
but then you have to hack into the flash drive
Yeah,
to, like, yeah.
I'm just trying to understand how we're gonna do games in the future like that
Mhm.
without, like they took out their cell phone and it's like, flip open, pull up the antenna, like, "This game's in the 1900s." Yeah,
That is an
goodness.
interesting
But
question, though, like, especially for someone who's creating a game that is using found footage, like, what happens? Like,
mhm,
what's the next evolution of that?
mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
You're looking into, like, say you have a security camera nowadays. A lot of them, they don't save their footage after a certain amount of time, they just
Mhm.
auto delete.
Mhm.
So, not saying I'm trying to find, holes in people's stories before they've even written them, but at the same time, I'm like, how do you keep
Future
that
forecasting.
realistic? Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you keep that realistic without someone being like, "It wouldn't have stayed on the cloud, they delete after 24 hours," 'cause, you always get that one person in the
Mhm.
comments. So, that's just my that just it's just interesting to think about how people are going to write games in the future.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be a really interesting question. Like, again, especially for a solo dev, right?
Mhm,
Because right now with Paranormal Activity, it's like thinking about how they do it with the films, right?
mhm,
So maybe there's not as and obviously I don't know, but maybe there's not as much flexibility to think about that sort of a question for this specifically because you're staying in line with the way the films have done it. But
mhm,
if this was not tied to a film franchise and that was like a thing to consider, right? Like what is the next step? What is the next evolution of that? Is there an evolution of that, right?
mhm,
Or is that something that you just can't do, right? Or like
mhm,
or is it that you find some of the footage, but maybe not all of the footage because some of it has deleted already. So you do have to then just sort of fill in the gaps with you know, everything
mhm.
else that you find in the house, right? And do you make that part of the gameplay where maybe maybe this happened 7 days ago, but you only have footage, you know, 5 days ago, right? And those 2
Yeah.
days are a mystery and it's the
Mhm.
clues in the house or
Yep.
conversations with people or, whatever. Like maybe that's some
Mhm,
evolution of it, but I think that could be a really interesting concept for like a game or game developer to explore in like
mhm.
how do we do something similar but different knowing that the future of tech and the future of
It's evolved.
surveillance is evolving, and if we
Mhm,
want to keep it grounded in some sort of reality we have to evolve that too.
mhm. And without constantly feeling like we're going back in time to do that every
Mhm.
time.
Right.
Because no one wants to always go back in time to play,
Mhm.
like, in the game. How do we keep it fresh? How do we keep it relevant too?
Right.
So, because, you're gonna get like, like, my child is gonna be playing games one time, like, in the future, and, like, "Mom, what's a cassette tape? Mom, what's a VHS?"
Ugh, it hurts my
Like, I
heart.
feel like that question will come, and, like, I'll reach into, like, pull out my Spice World VHS, and, "This is what a VHS is, honey." You
That
know,
hurts.
that yeah, yeah. I have a bunch of VHS tapes that were, like, and I don't remember where I got them, but, like, I bust them out from time to time. Like, do you remember Nickelodeon had only orange,
Yep. Harriet
like,
the
anytime
Spy
they
was an
did.
orange, yep.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
Um, Finding a
Mhm.
VHS player is either paying an arm and a leg or
It's true.
you have to find it at, like, an estate sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
They're not as easy to find anymore.
mm-mm. That's
No.
the crazy part about past technology.
And it doesn't feel like it's been that long in the current scheme of things.
Mm-mm. No, no. Mm-mm.
Yet here we are.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Yep.
that's I would be really interested in hearing like that answer from a dev who is more likely to deal with it than I am because I'm not developing games. Right? So
Yeah.
I'd be curious. That's a good
Mhm.
question.
Yeah. Because going forward, like, now when do you remember when the time frame this game was coming, like, what time frame they were,
I mean,
what years they were in?
it's pretty modern. Um,
Okay.
I think it's still like 2025, but figure, we called them a young couple. But they're probably realistically and sticking with the realism aspect, a young couple buying a house, even if it is in Rochester, New York, they're probably in their late
30s.
20s, like
Late 20s,
30s.
early 30s.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I didn't buy a house until right before I turned 30, so
yeah. So the likelihood of them knowing and I will say the camera that they're using is not like a VHS camera. It is like those mini tape cameras, right? So a little bit more modern, um,
okay.
but not a little bit more modern, not crazy, um, like high tech either.
So they were the only reason we have these tapes is probably because these late 20, early 30, maybe 40 somethings, uh, just held on a nostalgia.
Mhm, probably, yeah.
Because in all
Mhm.
honesty, this rules everything.
Yeah.
Like, everything is on here. Like, every picture, every video I have is on here,
Mhm.
nothing else. And
Yeah.
I will say, like, the qualities of phones are that of what cameras
Mhm.
are. Like, I do social media for a couple business in the area, and I take I'm not gonna say professional because I am not by any means a professional, but I take high quality photos
Mhm.
on my phone
Yeah. I
that
think
they
a lot
turn
of people
around and
do.
use for promotional things. So, again, going back to, like, how are we going to
Mhm.
like, are we hacking into phones? Are
Yep.
we downloading things from clouds? What is that gonna look like now?
Mhm.
That's that's but I think the way they're approaching it is more of sticking to that paranormal 'cause
Mhm.
if you take what's already been established, say, like, the paranormal, like, movie series, and you decide that you're gonna go, like you're like, "Okay, I'm going this way with it," like, the people who are I'm
Like the
trying to think of the
diehard
word.
fans.
The diehard fans, the people who are, like, stick to the script
Mhm.
are gonna be like, "I'm not playing that game."
Right, because you've done something too different, like, we haven't
Mhm,
explored this, we haven't done this, and,
mhm.
like, okay,
Yeah.
fine, you
Mhm,
know? But yeah, so I think that is part of the, like, sticking with the camera and the footage and
mhm,
and again, I think also age-wise, right?
mhm.
And in the being realistic, like, even a house
Yeah.
in Rochester, New York is not cheap, cheap. So they
Mm-mm.
probably have to be a couple that's a little bit older, right?
Mhm,
And I say a little bit older, but I'm really thinking more like my age or
mhm.
somewhere around there. Um,
'Cause
you
that's
know,
the probable age of people actually buying houses nowadays.
yes. And just two people buying a house, not like we're buying it with another couple or,
Which
whatever.
which, honestly, looking back, I wish there was another couple gonna buy the house with. Um, dang.
But it's really interesting in in that way and what they're doing, what's happening with the game. Um, it's definitely yeah, it's a little terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. The game itself is terrifying, and it's terrifying to think that one day we're just gonna be like all the footage is on a phone or a cloud, maybe if it hasn't been deleted. Um, and how do you investigate things? But
Mhm.
yeah,
Knowing
terrifying.
that about houses, though, in New York State, about having to release that it's haunted, makes
That you
me
think it's
feel
haunted. If you think it's haunted,
okay,
you're supposed to disclose it.
okay. Where is New York State, have to let you know if someone's died in the house too?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Well, then I feel great about my house. Um, Especially because not the owners directly in front of us, but the first owners of the house who were here when it was built were an ex-nun and an ex-priest.
Okay.
If that isn't the setup to a horror film, I don't know what is.
Interesting.
They're the
Interesting.
original owners of my house. There are you can't see it here, but there is a giant wall of bookshelf in front of my desk. Like, ceiling to floor, the whole wall is bookshelves
Mm. Okay, so
because they
here's
just
here's what the internet says.
okay.
This takes it with a grain of salt, but so sellers must inform buyers of potential ghost if they have previously claimed the house as paranormal activity. Um, if death has affected the physical condition of a house, that physical
Mm,
remediation might need to be disclosed. And if someone has died in the house, right? Real estate agents and sellers are not legally required to disclose it. However, if a buyer asks directly about it, the seller or agent cannot lie about it. So they don't have to voluntarily offer it, but if someone says, "Did somebody die in this house?" they have to be honest. If not, they could face liability for fraud.
Okay, good thing I asked.
So so yeah,
Good
they
thing I
have to be
asked.
honest.
Okay, good thing I asked.
Yeah.
Because we still get mail from like, the first people that lived here, and we bought our house over 7 years ago, and the people who lived there lived here 10 years maybe?
Mhm.
So, like, the people who first owned it, because the house is from the '70s,
Okay, yeah.
um, so but, like, I always found it just because I would find, uh, like, Catholic statues
Oh,
around the
yeah. Mhm.
house, like, hidden in places, and I was like, "This is like a horror film."
That is something that you see in the Paranormal Activity demo, yes,
Yeah,
that
so
is
it
mhm.
you know,
Not statues, but,
just, like,
I
figures and
yeah, there's things the demo was very structured around, like, almost like a board that you found, and you had to do things on the board to, like, summon or I shouldn't say I
mhm,
don't wanna say summon because it's not like a summon in the same way, but that would be, like, the trigger to the next thing that happened, right? Like, at one point, you do something on the
mhm,
board, and then the light in the kitchen goes out, and I was like, "Hmm." And then you would hear things, and you have to walk to try to go to the spot where you're hearing things, um and I was like, "I don't like this. I have my
mm,
flashlight, and I don't like this." And the cell phone that I was trying to call my partner on, right, is not working, and the door that led me outside now no longer leads me outside, it leads to a closet, and I was like, "I hate this. I hate this so
yeah,
much."
yeah,
And not hate and let me say, not hate in a bad way. Hate as in, I am terrified.
yes, yes. It's scared hatred, not
Yes. Not
loathing
like
hatred.
exactly. It is I'm scared. I'm scared, so someone send help. Um, but yeah, so that's like the fantasy, yes, and then PAX in general was really, really cool. Um, and they said on the news podcast
It's
that
on
I
the
would talk
bucket
about it,
list.
so you should absolutely go. Come with us next year.
Well,
Um,
I'll have excuses next year,
yeah.
so
I also I said it in some spaces. Last year when we went to PAX, like, I was the only person that went as media. This year, both Sean and I went as media, which was good, so I didn't have to feel like I was running everywhere. Um,
mhm.
so then next year, we could have 3 people, you could come, we could have a full, like, production team for these
I mean,
interviews.
yeah. We'll just get my partner to sign
Mhm.
up for Gamer Social Club
There you
to just kinda
go.
be on just kinda be on the team next year. Just for the hard part about it was C2E2, which is, Chicago Comic Con,
Mhm.
and PAX were happening on the same weekend.
And, DreamHack Birmingham, which I believe is in the UK, that was also going on. But if you are
Mhm.
some of these smaller dev teams, right? Like, you can't
You can't
send
you
everybody
can't
everywhere.
split. Nope. Mm-mm. And the thing is, PAX is on the East Coast, and C2E2 is that midway point
Mhm.
between, and so I
Oh,
bet
and
you a lot of
WonderCon
people
was going on. WonderCon was going on the West Coast.
so you had to pick and choose. If you're not a huge dev
Mhm.
team, you gotta pick and choose.
Yep. And I know WonderCon doesn't have a huge, huge gaming presence, but there is and I've noticed this at a lot of conventions in general, gaming presence at these, like, general pop culture conventions is growing.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if
'Cause
there were some there.
C2E2 is very I don't know about PAX because 'cause I've never been, but I've been to the, C2E2, is very cosplay based. A lot of things are like, there's a lot of cosplay competitions,
Mhm.
um, there's a lot of, um, TTRPG spaces, board game spaces. I feel like it's more gaming in the sense of realistic gaming, like
Mhm.
IRL gaming rather than video gaming. So I do believe like D2E2 kind of panders to that crowd more. So, and I believe PAX is more video. But I believe they all have their overlaps in the
They
sense of like
do,
they're
and
mhm,
PAX has really grown their tabletop gaming. It was
have they?
interesting because I was and to the point where, um, in November, December, because it's varied year to year, there is PAX Unplugged, which is no video gaming and all board gaming and tabletop, right, under the PAX
Okay.
umbrella. But the tabletop, the RPG, the tabletop, the board game, the TTRPG, the minifigures, that has grown
Mhm,
at PAX East, a lot these last couple years. I think some of that is a bit in response to COVID and the pandemic because now
mhm,
less and less of the big guys show up at PAX, at least PAX East. So it was like a big deal that Nintendo came this year, right? Because that
mhm,
was the only of, like, the big 3, so I'm just sort of lumping, like, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo.
mhm,
That was the only of the big 3 that was there, and the last couple years, none of them have really been there.
mm,
So, the tabletop has really expanded, and it was interesting because I was talking to somebody, um, from a PR team. I'm not gonna say who because this will kinda put them in a not so great light. Um, but one of the things that they said was they were disappointed in the showing at PAX East, which I thought was interesting, and they were disappointed because there was so much indie and none of the big names, and then almost half of it was tabletop board games and RPGs, which, yes, I will say almost half of it was tabletop board games and RPGs, 100%, right?
mhm,
Like, I agree with that. The presence has grown, but that's because that is what some people are looking for, right? Like, they
mhm,
want some of that. They want that balance.
mhm.
But it was really interesting that that was a perspective that I had not heard from anybody at PAX
Yeah,
since I've been going, right? And they were like, "Where?" They were like, "It feels like it's less video game focused." And I was like, "I don't know that it's less video game focused, especially this year with so many other events going on at the same time." Right? I
mhm.
was like, "But it's definitely different." Right? Like
Yeah,
it's casting a wider variety for gamers. And I think that's
mhm,
smart of them to do, right? And you're letting more indie developers show off their stuff, right? And allow for more games and more interesting sort of tech too, right? Because on the news podcast, Sean talked about I don't want to call it smell-o-vision because that's not what it is. It's like this OVR thing, um, but it is incorporating sense into the video games that are being played. So like
mhm,
they talked about, like, if you're building stuff in Minecraft, you might have, like, the positive scent from something that is then, like, released to you, right? Because how smell is
mhm,
tied with memory. Very, very cool, right? Really cool concept. Something that probably a few years ago wouldn't have had space at PAX because you'd
mhm,
have all the big guys taking up all the space, right? And I mean, Nintendo had this massive space, right? And I did go by the
mhm,
Nintendo piece at one point to try out the Bella Bell Park Mario Wonder expansion piece, right?
mhm,
But I'm like, the space is massive for a game that was already out, Pocopia, a game that came out the first day of PAX, right? And then for Pokemon
mhm,
Champions, which comes out like later this week. So like you took up so much space that could be going to a variety of different games, and 2 out of your 3 games are already out. I would rather that space go to, like, indie developers that need to get their name out there, that
mhm,
space go to, you know, like, unpublished areas where it's like, "Try out my game, I'm really trying to, like, get feedback," right? I would rather that
mhm,
be the space than, like, Nintendo where it's like, this stuff is already out, like, it's already
mhm.
accessible. Like, why?
But I will play devil's advocate in that sense, is Nintendo having a booth there is a huge draw for PAX itself.
Mhm, mhm.
And that
I
it
just wish they
personally
would have
as
given stuff that they
yes,
didn't have out
yes,
already.
yes. And and it's not like I don't I 100% agree with you. Like, I 100% agree because Nintendo people are gonna buy Nintendo things.
Mhm.
They don't have to see it at PAX to want to buy it.
Yep.
Whereas the indie developers are the ones who need the spaces to say, "Hey, I have a really great game," because they're the ones that are less looked at.
Yeah.
And not because it isn't a great game, it's just because not their name isn't
Isn't out there.
Nintendo.
Right.
It's
I
not a
mean,
big 3.
it was ridiculous that Pokemon Champions, which for the record is gonna be a free to play game, right? Pokemon Champions, free to
So it's
play,
already got its yeah.
comes out later this week, right, at the time of this recording, either later this week or the week after. It will be available on Switch, it will be and then eventually it will be available on, like, iOS and also because it plugs into your Pokemon Home, blah, blah. Comes out in April. It had a 4-hour wait to demo this game. A 4-hour wait. Do you know how many indie games you could try out on the show floor
Mhm.
in 4 hours?
How
The
many?
game is gonna be free to
Because
play.
you did it, you probably did it.
Oh, no, I
How
didn't.
many? Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh,
I
like,
meant
other
how
people,
many
yeah. How
indie
many
games
games?
did
Yeah,
you try in 4 hours?
yeah.
Because you did that.
I mean, because some of the indie demos, 10, 20 minutes, some of them are
Mhm.
longer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you could even having to wait for some indie demos, which, yes, there
Mhm.
are some that you had to wait for, right?
Mhm.
You could play easily, easily 4 games, right? And that is at, like, a minimum, right? You could demo 4 indie games in the time it took you to just wait
Yeah.
online for that demo.
And even if you didn't have to wait in line more.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly, personally, and this is not to knock Nintendo people who like to play Nintendo games. You play your Nintendo games. We're not gonna yuck your yum. You're gonna be able to experience that because it's free and you just have to wait a little bit longer.
Couple
Whereas
weeks.
these indie games sometimes take, as we've seen with something like Concerned Ape, where we've been waiting for Haunted Chocolatier for they take up to 10 years
Mhm.
for us to get them. And if you have the chance to demo them when the demo is not on Steam,
Mhm.
go,
Yes. Yes. Because some of these
go.
indie games do not have the demo on Steam, right? Like one of the other games that I played, and there will be a piece that goes on the site and the YouTube at some point, was one called Rain 98. That demo is not on Steam. Right? They are
Mhm,
not ready to put a full demo on Steam just yet, right? They hope to get one
mhm,
in the coming months, right? Great, cool. When it comes out on Steam, I will write a piece for the demo disc so that it's on there so people can play it because it's a very interesting concept.
mhm,
Um, right? And it's a beautifully done game. Uh, the general concept is that two lonely souls in Japan find each other because one of them ends up going back in time and ends up in an apartment of this girl. And I apologize, her name is escaping me right now. And she thinks that she is prophesized by Nostradamus to destroy the world. And it's the two of you,
that
like,
took a left turn.
yeah, I
That is
know,
not
I
where I
know.
thought. I was thinking,
Yes,
like, something else.
yeah, but and again, these, like, very interesting concepts that some of these smaller games are doing, right?
Mhm,
But it was beautiful, the music was very well done, art is really good, right? And you're, like, working through this bond, this sort of strange, tenuous bond that these 2 are going through, right? So there was a demo for
mhm,
that I played. Beautiful, I got to, speak to, someone on the team, and I'll get that up there. Right? But amazing, amazing game, right? Also got to play Grim Trials, which is a sort of roguelike Hades sort of game from publishers in Southeast Asia, right?
okay,
Amazing, fluid, really good. That one does have a demo on Steam, right? Um, but there was like an update. And like this is the thing too. Sometimes the demo on Steam is not the demo that you get at these conventions because
mhm,
the ones at these conventions are more updated or very specifically for PAX.
mhm.
I play Tiny Metal 2, which is a Fire Emblem-esque, except you're in tanks and boats and ships and stuff like that, right? Um, the demo that they had was very specifically created for PAX, to the point where the dialogue of the characters was talking about PAX, right? So that is an
Mm,
experience that you were only getting if you play it at PAX, right?
mhm,
The experience of you playing Pokemon Champions, right? Which to wait 4 hours for it is absurd because part of the appeal of Pokemon Champions is that you can import Pokemon that you have captured in your other games by connecting it to Pokemon Home. You don't have your individual Pokemon in Pokemon Champions when
mhm.
you're playing it at PAX, where you will have it, like, when you play it in 2 weeks or
Yeah,
whatever when it's out. So
yeah.
I'm like, you're missing these really specialized, individualized experiences to wait 4
Mhm.
hours for one game, right? And I'm glad
Yeah.
that Nintendo showed up at PAX. Like, that I'm not mad at that part. I just wish
Mhm,
they showed stuff that was not already there or so soon
mhm.
going to be out, right? Or
Yeah,
show things that don't already have the hype. Everybody knows Mario and Pokemon, right?
yeah.
Like, there are other games that they are putting out that they could have displayed, right? I mean,
I f
Tamagotchi
yeah,
Life doesn't have it has hype. I'm not gonna say it doesn't have hype, right?
yeah.
And I know it's out now, but that's a game that
It's not out yet.
or the demo's out though.
The demo's out. It doesn't
Yeah,
come out t for again, for 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks, right? So the demo's out, right? But that is a game that doesn't have the same amount of hype as
Mhm.
a Pokemon.
Which I'm surprised they didn't bring Tamagotchi Life because all
Same.
over my For You page is either so I get Pokopia. I get Pokopia. I get why they wanted people to play it because they wanna sell, because it's a Switch 2 exclusive, they want more Switch 2 to be
Mhm.
sold, which
Pokemon Champions
Nintendo,
is
I
not.
still haven't received my Switch 2. V said you would send me one, and I still haven't received my Switch 2. Um, like, I get why they brought
Mhm,
Pokopia, because there's a lot of people who don't have the Switch 2 who won't get the experience.
mhm.
The Pokemon game, I feel like they only brought, and I like Nintendo games, don't get me wrong. I hate that they're only Nintendo exclusive. I get why they're Nintendo exclusive, but accessibility, fuck off. Um, they brought
Mhm,
the Pokemon game to basically bring in the people,
mhm,
because if they captured them in one way or another, they're gonna capture them in other ways.
mhm. Yeah.
Um, and the new game, you understand why the game that's not gonna be released for whatever,
Mhm.
is that wait, is the game what was the 3rd game?
It was the Bell Park, which had come out literally the first day of PAX,
Okay,
which Super
so
Mario
basically
Wonder
there was nothing really to look forward to.
no.
In my honest opinion, there was really no, "Hey, this game is coming out later this year, let's build up hype for that."
Right.
It was, "This one's been out, this one releases now, this one comes out in 2 weeks."
Mhm. Right. That's my biggest problem with it. Not even the selection of games. Like, yes, I don't love Pokemon games. Everybody knows that, right? But not even the selection of games. It was these are games that are going to be accessible if you have a Switch 2 already, which I
Mhm,
don't, right? I do not have a Switch 2,
mhm,
right? But it's like these are ones that are already going to be accessible. Like, show me something different. Show me, because I think for me, right? Show me something that is going to make me want to buy the Switch 2, right?
mhm,
Show me something that is gonna tip the scale. Show me
mhm,
something that is gonna get me excited. And look, not that I expect them to have like the new Fire Emblem game or anything like that,
mhm,
right? I mean, if they would have had the Fire Emblem game, I probably would have waited the 5 hours, right?
mhm,
They didn't. Um, but like, show me something that is gonna be that I have to wait for, that I can build hype for, that I can
mhm,
leave and say, "Oh my god, this was so much fun. You should,
mhm,
look out for this. You should do this. You should, whatever." Um, because there were games that I left that way, right? And I'm like, "This game is not out yet, but you should look forward to this," right?
mhm,
There's a there's a donut shop dating sim, High Times, right? That I was like, this
Me looking at it right now.
I do have some stuff that I'll be posting about that one. That I was like, "This is so much fun, and it's so silly, and I want people to play it." And, like, it's not out yet, but that's one that, like, I will be talking about with people because I was like, "This is fun. I think people should play it." Um, there were some that it's like, "This is fun to play with kids." If you're nostalgic, there was, like, backyard baseball, right? Um, there was, you know if you are like me and you like your tactical games, Brigandine Abyss looks amazing. Was not great at the demo, but it looks amazing. Schrodinger's Call was one that I'll play, more visual novel like style, right? So like all these things that I was like, these are great. And I wish listed them and I'm gonna talk to them about people, right? I did play when we got there and Bella Bell Park had no wait, so we went and we played it, right? But I don't feel the same urge to be like, "You should check this out. You should play this. You should wish list it. You should
Mhm,
get a Switch too." Like, it
mhm.
wasn't that level, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, "You didn't show me anything to build the same amount of hype or a different level of hype to be like, this is like, I'm gonna get this because I'm gonna get a Switch because of this." There was nothing like that.
I already want the Switch 2 because of Pokopia, but, like, not in a sense of, like, I'm actively saving money right now to save for the Switch 2. There's nothing coming down the docket that they have shown me that makes me excited for it.
Mhm.
Like, because I enjoy Pokemon, don't get me wrong, um, but it's not like like, for as hype as it is for other people.
Mhm.
So, maybe it's just because we are not as into Pokemon as other people that it's not that much of a draw, but also I 100% agree with you that they did not bring anything that
That was
even
like
remotely. Yeah.
to show me something different, something new, like
Mhm.
I, because the other thing is like when I think about going to PAX, I'm like, I want to play the things that aren't as accessible yet, right? Like
Mhm.
I yes, there are things that are like, oh, it's out now. And I get that, right? There are some that are like that. And it's fun to if I was on the fence about it, see it, whatever.
Mhm.
Right. But I'm like, "Nintendo, you gave me the same stuff that, like, I can find anywhere else, that, like, hype is already there for, awareness is already there for," right? There was nothing that
Mhm.
it was like, "Oh, this is exclusive, this is different, this is" the
Mhm.
most exclusive thing was the pins, right? Great, so now I have some Bella Bell Park pins. I don't know what I'm gonna
Mhm.
do with them, right? But I have them, great.
Mhm.
Um, and they took pictures of, like, Sean and I playing, because we played, like, against each other in some of the mini games. But again, I was like, "You're showing me these mini games that to get these mini games, I have to buy this additional pass for a game, right? And have to buy it on Switch 2, which means you need a Switch 2 for mini games that are not that much different that I can play in like a indie game on Steam for 10, $20, right? So
Mhm.
where is the big selling point, right? And I love growing up, like, I played lots of Mario games. I love the idea of Mario games, but I'm not buying a Switch 2 just for Mario games, right?
Mhm.
So, it's just like, I wish there was something that was different. If they had a Tomodachi Life, I probably would have tried it out, right? I would
Oh,
have
yeah.
waited, I would have tried it out, something different, something that,
But Tomodachi Life
newer,
is coming to the original Switch.
right?
So, that even that to me would have been like, "I'll try it out," but I know I'm waiting for it to come out for the Switch. I'm buying it. Like, they're just yeah.
Yeah, so
Even
I
at
just
a
I just wish there were
$60 price point.
yeah, I know. So I just wish
That's another thing
there
we'll
were
talk
different
about
things.
Nintendo.
You know what? I will give Nintendo credit for what they're doing now, where the physical games are gonna be the same price and the digital games are gonna be cheaper. I'll give them credit.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I will say that. That's a great, but also not having a tangible game
Mhm. Yeah, because it's
makes
like
me
a
a
game
little bit
card.
yeah, makes me a little bit nervous for future.
Mhm. Yeah.
The same with buying a virtual version of a movie.
Mhm.
Um, you go on Amazon and Amazon Prime and you're like, "Oh, I wanna" like, I own both Wickeds. Wicked Part 1, Part 2. Um, but I don't have physical copies of them.
Right.
Um, so what happens? A Amazon implodes, what do I do now? Like, what do I do? Like, do I not have my movies anymore? Did I just
Yeah.
spend money? Whereas if I have a physical DVD, the only person that can ruin that is me, like, losing it
Mhm.
or whatever. So, that's what I kinda dislike in the sense of going
Fully digital.
fully digital.
Mhm. Yeah.
So but we do the same thing with Steam,
Mhm. Yeah.
but that's what I feel like because, like, I'm so used to, like, the disc that you put
Mhm.
in PlayStation or, the game cartridge that you put that slowly and I get it because we fill our homes with so many things that to have one more thing
Mhm.
is, especially because, like, a lot of us have smaller spaces because we can't afford the big spaces and things like that. So I get it, but also at the same time, not having that tangible piece sometimes is worrying,
Yeah.
if that makes
Agreed.
sense.
No, it absolutely does make sense. Um, you know, I think for me sometimes I think about like, well, when I'm done with the thing, I'm probably done with the thing, right? And yes, there's
Mhm.
still some games that I go back to and some movies that I go back to. Um, you know, but I am like my space is more important than like, but
Yeah.
also I'm usually unless it's something that like I'm super super excited for. Um Usually, like, I'm not buying anything at full price anyway. Very
Mhm.
few things I have, like, picked up at full price, and when it's something that I'm, like, super excited for that I absolutely need, then I will, like, buy the physical. Like, I think the last game that I really, really bought at, like, the $60, $70 price point, which actually I spent more on, um, was the 100 Line Academy because I
Mhm.
bought the physical collector's edition because it came with so much stuff. But I was
Mhm.
this is a game that I want all the things for, right?
Yeah.
Um, Whereas, like, I think, oh, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, "It would be nice to say that I know I'll have this forever, but I might not, but whatever, I'll enjoy it for the time that I
Yeah.
have with it." Um,
Mhm.
which is maybe not a great mentality to have because I'm still spending money that I work really hard for,
Mhm.
that I don't make a lot of,
Yeah.
right? Um But I think
I feel that I
I'm just like, I can't borrow future problems right now.
yeah. I feel like I feel that way specifically about books.
Mhm.
Like, I read mostly on my Kindle just because I can go from my phone to my Kindle. I
Yeah.
can kind of virtually do it anywhere. Um, but if I really, 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 really like a book, I will buy it and buy
And
it so I
keep
have
it.
a physical
Mhm.
copy. But I also am a really big nerd and went as far as because people borrow my books, bought the little things that you put in the back,
Oh,
like, of
yeah.
old library
Mhm.
books with, like, the library tag. So when people borrow the book, they can put, like, their name and how many stars they rate it. So I, like is that's really big nerd stuff, but,
No, I
um
think that's cool.
and, like, if I really like a book, like because I feel like am I searching for nostalgia and that, like, hit of nostalgia any place I can get it? Yes, but also, like I feel like I'm not gonna hand my Kindle to my kid one day and be like,
Mhm.
"It's got all the classics, kid." Like, you know what I mean? Like, uh, I feel like and that's how I feel about video games too. But also, are those tangible systems gonna be around? Like,
Mhm.
my dad has the first Nintendo, and it's in great condition, um, with a bunch of cartridges. Is it gonna be the same for going back to how are we gonna show, with the thing with videotapes,
Mhm.
how are how is my child going to understand some of the games that I enjoyed?
Right.
It'd be like, "Here's the login for my Steam."
Mhm. Generational Steam account.
I mean, yeah, like, that going back to that, like, how are we just gonna show future generations, like, how we did like, our parents did with us, like,
Mhm.
"Here, kid, here's my first Nintendo. Here's my first PlayStation. Here's this."
But we'd have to survive long enough to worry about those things first.
It's true. We're living on a day-to-day basis right now. Um,
We'd have to survive global warming, an ice age, whatever comes next.
it was 72 degrees here yesterday in the middle of or the beginning of April.
Mhm.
So
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
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 So, we'll
Mhm.
have to survive that and I think that's why to some extent I'm like, I can't borrow future problems. I don't know
Yeah.
that there's not gonna be some crazy magnetic pulse that's gonna run through and destroy everything, and anything tech-wise is just gone, and it's just like, "What do I do? I don't know.
Y
Play a board game." At least I have
yeah.
some board games to play.
We got 3 really great board games this week. I finally got my hands on the Stardew Valley board game.
Okay. Mhm.
I have been wanting that since its conception. No, I don't have a first generation, which is boo because I
Ever.
wanted that, but I'm not paying how much a first generation is right now. Um, but I bought it for $60 through Fangamer,
Mhm.
which was pretty good for the extent of pieces and whatever comes with it. Um, Baldur's
Fangamer was at
Gate,
PAX.
where are they? Good. I really
Yes.
like them. They
Um,
are small company. They are very small,
mhm.
like their employee base is very small,
Yeah.
but
Sean got
they
2
have a lot of games under their
T-shirts.
belt.
Can
Did
I
you?
reach this? Let me see if I could reach this thing that he got me from it. I can. Oh, yeah, I can reach it. Um, for those who have played like a Persona or a Shin Megami Tensei, or have seen like Atlas stuff, they may recognize little Jack Frost. Um, he has basically become like the Atlas mascot. Um, so Sean picked this up for me when he went by the fan gamer booth, and little Jack
That's
Frost as we
true
walk
love right
around being
there.
like hee ho. That's like his whole thing, and then he hits you with
That's true
frost
love right
damage.
there.
But yeah, I did think of you. I was like, "Oh," because they had the Stardew mug. They had that for sale there. They had a few other things for sale.
They
Um,
have Crowbest.
I don't know if they had Krobus. I wanna say they didn't, but I could be wrong because I did walk by it, like, the last day, but they had just, like, a few things from each sort of franchise, right? So they
Mhm.
had a few things on display, but I didn't go up to the full thing to see everything they had. So, they had a lot of different, like, franchises that they were just, like, which makes sense. I think it's, like, just a
Mhm.
tasting, and if you want more from that franchise, go to their website.
Mhm. Yeah. Which they claim they're on their website, they're like, "Hey, it's gonna take anywhere from 7 to 14 business days for us to get this to you. We have a very
Mhm,
small team, and, like, we pack each thing individually from our warehouse."
mhm,
Which, considering they have some big names under their belt, that's pretty great. Like, I was kind of like, "Where's my thing? Where's my thing?" Because I was like, I just wanted this guy so bad, though he sits on the shelf. Um, the mug I use almost every day, like, their stuff is great quality too. Like, sometimes you get, like, stuffed animals and you're like,
mhm,
"I paid $30 for this, but this was made for under $5."
mhm. No, this guy's pretty
This guy
solid.
w Yeah, Krobus is pretty solid too.
Got a nice chunky belly over here.
Mhm. Like, I feel like the seams on it are really just
Mhm.
and his little like, Krobus has this, like, little curl on the top of his head, like, from the shadow. I assumed it was gonna be, like, a piece of felt. No, it's actually, like, sewn,
Yeah.
like, into so, like,
Yeah, this
there's
one's pretty
no
sewn. Yeah.
yeah, there's no, like, "This is a piece of felt to represent this."
Mhm.
So, um, Fan Gamer was great. So,
Yeah, no,
um
they had a lot at PAX. I mean, it was impressive, and it's just, like, the amount of stuff that you see at PAX, if you get to see everything,
mhm.
is a lot. Um,
Was Wild Bill's there again?
they had 2 different ones. I did not bring a mug, and I did not buy a mug while I was there. Um, but what I did instead was I, like, packed snackies and stuff like that, to take with me, to walk around the show floor and whatnot, but Wild Bill's was there. They had a good selection of food at PAX. And the other thing that a lot of the, like, indie developers and stuff that I saw had was trinket trading, which we talked about a little
Mm,
bit before we started the podcast,
mhm,
but it was really interesting because so what PAX and all PAX, events do is they have the pin trading, right?
mm,
So pin trading is a big thing at PAX, and it's usually, I do have one. So they usually have very specific penny arcade like ones to trade, right? So they come in
mhm,
these blue backs. People will wear them or they'll be like, "Oh, like I'm coming here to trade pins," and they'll trade different pins, right? Um so there's usually ones that are limited edition. This one was from Bloodbreaker Labyrinth of the Witch. They'll also always say it like on the back what it's from.
mm, mhm.
Um, and then the idea being that in a future con, you're not like at a future PAX, you're not going to be able to get this one. So the only way you would get it is from pin trading. People that have done pin trading at like Disney and all that stuff are probably pretty familiar with those concepts. So the pins are limited time. But then they also had trinket trading, where people would just have bags and you would like put a trinket, take a trinket, right? And those could also include all sorts of different pins. Um, this is only a small collection of the pins that I got because my goodness, there were some people that were giving out pins like crazy. I think
Mhm.
also because they knew the trinket trading stuff was going on. Um, so like this one was just a little happy pin. It's better when we play together, right? So it's like a little controller. Sorry for
Oh,
the glare because it's still in the plastic. So like that one was a fun one. This game actually was not here this year, but it was there last year. Don't Wake the Beast. Sorry, I know the glare from the plastic is a lot. Um, so there were ones like that. But then the one that was really, really interesting that we got a pin for, um, which this is one that I've mentioned to Britt and V, but we're gonna see if we can possibly get some of the team on the podcast. Um, is I'll actually open this one so the glare doesn't impact it. So the very last day of PAX, I went over by a booth with Sean. It was Astral Clock Tower Studios, and it was for a game called Crystalla, um, which is Cat Souls-like, basically. So this is what the pin looks like. All right, well, it's still glare because I
you
think the
said
material.
cat Souls-like?
Yeah, so you play as a cat, like this one here, this
Okay.
little. Um, but the play is Souls-like the combat and stuff like that. But they did say there is also a story mode for people who are just trying to see the story.
Mhm.
The game Crystalla is out in early access now, but it comes out in full later this month. Um, but they are a female-led studio,
Mhm.
right? Based, I wanna say somewhere in Pennsylvania? But, I was talking to them about, like, Girl Pod and things like that, and they were like, "Oh, that'd be really interesting, like, we are female-led, and we really wanna, like" that is a s that is a point that they really try to, promote and really thinking about voices in the gaming industry and what that all looks like.
Mhm.
So we have been in some very very early talks about getting them on the podcast. Um, but so that was, but they were also giving out these like trinkets that you can um take and trade. So there was like a lot going on at PAX East that was, gaming related and the gaming tangential, but allowed people to have fun with everything they did as long as they weren't standing online for 4 hours for a game that comes out later this month. So that they could get engaged with different things. And of course there's panels, right?
Mhm.
So you could go to the panels and hear people talk about their game or other gaming related pieces. I keep saying I'm like we could do a live girl pod at like a convention one day. Um because they had things like that where
I mean,
podcasters were doing live episodes basically that you would only hear if you were there, right?
mhm,
Um, they did also during PAX, they did also break the record for the largest Michael Myers gathering. That was in
mm,
conjunction with the Halloween game, which there
yeah,
is already a video about the Halloween interview that I did on the YouTube. Um,
which again, um, uh, not a like, I've watched one Michael movie,
mhm.
I think it was a Rob Zombie one.
Oh, I could not finish that one.
Yeah. I watched it in theaters, so I had to kind of.
I
I was
walked out.
sandwiched between my I was sandwiched between my 2 cousins, but it looks like a horror game that I actually wanna play.
Yes. I think you'll have fun with it. It's not okay, so I know a lot of people, like, some of the fear was, like, it's gonna be just like Dead by Daylight, or it's gonna be just like, um, Texas Chainsaw or, other sorts of games, and yes, Elphonic has done other asymmetrical games, and they talk about it a little bit in the interview, um, that I did, that you can find on the YouTube, um, but I think what is interesting with this one is when you play Dead by Daylight, if you're playing as a survivor, when you're done, right? Like,
Mhm,
whether it is you died or you get out, like, you're done. In this game, when you're done, you're not really done, right? So there
mhm,
are ways to still impact the game and potentially even come back into the game, right?
okay.
So let's say Mike Myers kills you, right?
Mhm,
You then get introduced to a mini game. And in the mini game, you could potentially impact things that are happening. Like I don't know if it's like specifically within the environment, but you can play the mini game, and you might be able to come back as like a cop that gets called to try to deal with Mike Myers, right? Um,
mm,
so there are things that still keep the players engaged because like you play Dead by Daylight, if you're playing, let's say you're playing with a group, right? If you're the first one out and you don't want to leave your group because it's a group of friends that are playing, then all you can do is spectate, right? So this
mhm.
allows you to do more than just spectate, right?
That that is something I wish DBD, um, you know.
Included, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is you can really fight back as the civilians, right? Um, so and like fight back is not just like, oh, let me stun you with the flashlight or let me stun you with the pallet, right? And again, I love those concepts in Dead by Daylight, right? So no shade to that. But this is much more like you could pick up a pitchfork and throw a pitchfork at Mike Myers and try to stop him, right? And now you never
Mhm,
kill him. You do down him, right? And then he gets back up. But the thing is when he does get back up, he gets back up stronger, right? So, it is a little bit of a
maybe I don't wanna
trade-off.
play this game.
No, no,
Maybe I
it
don't
I
wanna play
played
this
I played as
game.
Mike Myers, right, when I played it,
Mhm,
but so it's a little bit of a trade-off, right? Because that time that you down him might be just enough time for you to call the cops to come in to detain him, right? Or for you to do whatever it is that you need to do in order to, like, escape Haddonfield, right? So it's like it's a trade-off of how strategic are you being? Are you being smart about things? Like, don't just try to 1v1 Mike Myers, that's not gonna work, right? That's not
mhm,
what you should be doing, and while you are playing as for, like, civilians, it is not just you 1v4 and Mike on the map. There are other NPCs in the town as well to make it feel a bit
Okay.
more filled. With those NPCs, you as a player could go to the NPC and tell them to call the cops while you maybe run distraction, right? Or while you're doing something else. You can tell them to lock their doors. You can try to ask them to fight back, right? So you can do all these things with them as well. They're
Okay.
not useless NPCs.
Okay. That brings a lot more sense into what I thought it was.
Yes, 100%. Because I was like, well, if it's just the same thing and you just got rid of Mike Myers from Dead by Daylight to do a very similar thing, but it's not a similar, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, in some ways, it is similar in the fact that it is a 1v4. Yes, okay, that is similar, right?
Mhm.
But there is more to it than just the fact that it's like 1v4. There is again, there is the really working together in a very strategic way. There's the chance to come back. There's the way that you fight back, right? The way that
Mhm.
Michael works in the game. Because even as Michael, you can cut the phone lines. You can cut the power to the house, right? If people try to lock you out of places, you can break down the doors, right? So you can really have that horror movie feel, um,
Mhm.
in a way that is not as terrifying as the Paranormal Activity game was. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think from what I had seen, they've done a really good job. I was not a good Mike Myers. That is because I was not being as strategic as I should have been with, like, the different powers, but there is a learning curve to
Oh, yeah.
the way he, like, is handled, right? I was playing
It's
it very
it's
much like
it's
I'm playing him in DBD, and I was like, "You can't play
DD.
him that way."
You cannot. I knew you cannot. And I knew that the game existed, and I've seen a little bit of gameplay, but and I saw your interview as well, but I really didn't know, like, behind the scenes of, like, what actually happens,
Mhm.
and hearing it firsthand of, like, "Hey, this is how your game is played," it gives me a little bit more hope rather than just, like, I'm loading into a
A differently skinned
Michael-only
yeah.
DVD, like,
Mhm.
just continually, um, which gives me hope. Um, I will say I'm a little skeptical on the sense of I hope it doesn't, because like the um, Bubba games, Bubba.
Mhm.
I can't think of his name
Of
right
his
now.
name. It's Saturday
But
morning. Saturday morning is tough.
you know who I'm talking about though,
Mhm.
because Bubba was taken from the game. And they made a whole game based off of that. That it doesn't have the same hype as when it things, and not as it is
Mhm.
because I love Mikey more than Bubba, and I I I hope the additional, like, "Hey, if you don't think he can do this in DBD, you should try this because" yeah.
Mhm.
I hope this is I hope it doesn't traction.
Yeah.
That's just and this isn't anything against the devs at all, it's just the type of people will come from DBD
Mhm.
and hype this game up because they're sick of DVD,
Yes.
and they'll come here and they'll flood it, and then
Mhm. Then they'll
yeah.
leave for the next thing. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
do think that, in the little bit that I spoke, with him, he was aware of that, and not that it was, like,
Mhm.
outwardly said during the interview, but, like, there is an awareness, and I think the way that Jordan phrased it was that they are very much learning from their previous games so
Mm.
that they don't make those same I don't know if he called them mistakes, but he did say they are learning from the previous games that they've done because they do a lot of this 1v4 asymmetrical, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's the what have you learned? What is the feedback? Right. And I think very smart to have the demo at PAX and not online yet, right?
Mhm.
Because the game doesn't come out till September. So if there is something that can still be adjusted, something that can still be tweaked, you're getting the hands-on people that are playing it to give you that feedback, right? So they still have time
Mhm.
with that. Um, so I think that's something that is smart, especially since they've done these types of games before, right?
Mhm.
So, don't make the same mistake. And then also thinking about obviously, Dead by Daylight has such a chokehold on that sort of genre right now. And I know Dead
Mhm.
by Daylight developers just said, yeah, we're not making like a Dead by Daylight 2. We're just going to keep supporting this game for as long as we can support it. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, they're not letting go of that hold that they have on the genre. So you really have to come in with something that feels fresh, something that feels smooth, something that feels
Mhm.
good. And I think to some extent that's almost why they're leaning a little bit more on the horror aspect of things, right?
Mhm.
Um and one thing that he really stressed was being stealthy, and that's from both the civilian side and Michael Myers, right? Because Dead by Daylight, you don't necessarily have to be stealthy to win on either side, right?
Mm-mm.
Sometimes it's just, let me get this done as fast as I can and avoid, right? Whether that's looping the killer, running, whatever it is, right? Um, Whereas for this one, it's like, no, stealth is what is going to really help you win the games and mastering the abilities and things like that, right? So I think there very much is an awareness and how do we do it different so that we don't fall into that same trap. So I think
Mhm.
they're being smart about it as a whole.
I I really do think that's necessary.
Mhm.
Very necessary. Um, because again, I've seen it with so many of those games where they've taken that killer and I feel sad because I'm like, I understand you gotta take licensing is
Mhm.
like a big thing.
Mhm.
Um, but now this game specifically, again, can't think of the name. It was so big, a lot of people moved,
Yep.
and now there's no Bubba unless you bought him, and that other
Mhm.
game isn't.
Isn't around anymore.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It happened with a lot of things though. Like, it happened with what is it? Killer Clowns.
Mhm.
Even though Killer Clowns was not in DBD, a lot of people came from DBD to play Killer Clowns. A lot of people went to uh uh where Ash is from.
Evil Dead.
Yes, Evil Dead. There was an Evil Dead game. Like, we've just seen the pull,
Mhm.
and then they go right back to DBD.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think, the interesting thing. Um, I don't know who did Evil Dead, but Killer Clowns was also an Ilphonic game. Or is, because I think
Mm,
you can still play it. And I think that is part of, like, the referring to we're learning from the
mhm,
things we did in the past, right? So, obviously, there was enough draw to get people there at the start, right? So now the challenge becomes you can get people at the start, but it's the keeping people,
mhm,
right? And that is where I think a lot of the lessons to be learned, to be heard, and I think that's part of the reason we probably won't see a demo right away on Steam because they will tweak the things with the feedback, right?
mhm,
And again, be very smart about how they move forward because it's like it's great to be able to get the players at the start, but you have to keep the
mhm,
players, right? And I think sometimes that's like the thing that works in Dead by Daylight's favor is that because they don't have a they're not set on one universe, one killer, one whatever, right? So they
mhm,
can just keep bringing in new killers to keep it fresh, whether it's new licenses or creating new killers, whatever they want to do, right? When
mhm,
you're staking it on one killer, one universe, you really do run into how do you keep it fresh, and I think that
Mhm.
is something that we'll see if they can do that. Right now, the Halloween game is really meant to be focused on the first original movie, right?
Okay.
So, and they worked very closely with John Carpenter to the point where they had a panel at PAX, and John
Mhm.
Carpenter wasn't there in person, but they did Zoom him in uh, to the panel to be part of the conversation, right? So
Mhm.
they're trying to be very respectful and close to that first movie, right? And maybe that's just a start. Maybe down the line we start to see other things, right? Maybe other maps from other Halloween games. Maybe you bring
Mhm.
in different civilians. I don't know, right? We didn't dive that
Yeah.
deep into it because right now it's just like the playing and what I got to see hands on with the demo. Um, but with something that has existed as long as Halloween, you do have the opportunity to explore a little bit more,
Mhm.
right? But how you do that in a way that still feels respectful. Again, it's funny because we keep going back to, like, respectful to the source material, like we were talking about Paranormal Activity, right? And now we're talking about it with a very different type of gameplay. Um,
Mhm.
but how do you be respectful but still invite, like, players to stay with it, to stick with it, to be consistent, um, and not be like, "Well, this is just a ripoff of this thing," or "This doesn't stay true to the source material," or "This doesn't do this," right? Because I think when you are talking about some of these very loved creations, these very loved
Mhm.
media, right? That is a fine line to tread.
Mhm. And IllFonic, it's like they like you said, they're doing Halloween. They've also done Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
Mhm,
but they've also taken on Predator
mhm.
and they've also taken on Ghostbusters. So
That's right, 'cause they did the
they've
Forces Unleashed, right? That Ghostbusters game?
the Spirits Unleashed,
Spirits
yes.
Unleashed, there we go.
Yes. Um, which that one came out in 21. Predator came out in 23? No, Predator came out in 21. I think Ghostbusters came out in 23.
Okay.
You
Mhm,
had Killer Clowns in 24 and Halloween set for September of 26.
mhm,
So, you've got some beloved games. Um,
mhm.
so let's see what they do with it cuz Killer Clowns again, I it was not one that I personally played, but I had a
Mhm.
lot of friends that it was nostalgic for them.
Yes. Mhm.
So, they played it, but they only played it for so long.
Right, and again, that's the thing, it's like, how do you keep people coming back? I think that's,
Mhm.
I mean, and I think for any game that can be a challenge, right? Like, how do you keep
Mhm.
people coming back? How do you keep them engaged? How do you especially with a game that is like a live service game, right?
Mhm.
Um, because that is I think that's the key, right? A game that you tell a specific story and it's one, maybe two playthroughs and you're done, like
Mhm.
that's fine. That's a very specific type of game and genre and all of
Mhm.
that. But a live service game where you really are looking more for people to keep playing,
Because
what's the
you only have 2 people on your servers.
Mhm.
It's a 5-person you have to have
Yeah.
5 people to play. What do you do?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
It'll be
like
interesting for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I feel because it is Halloween, you're gonna have a little bit more it's fan based. It's not like it's
Mhm.
just some random game where it's like, there's no kind of like that grab.
Yeah.
Michael is the grab.
Mhm.
So, and I hope I hope it does so well that they decide that they're gonna do a good version, not of the Friday the 13th because that's a good one too, and the fact that that game died is sad. Um,
That's fair.
it was more nostalgic than anything, but
No, I mean, I think that's fair. I think for a lot of people, even like a Halloween game is a little nostalgic, right?
mhm,
Like, I mean, what's the last Halloween movie that we had,
mm,
right?
I
So
don't
it's
even
like,
know.
what is, and there's what's the last Halloween movie that we had, and then there's also what's the last good Halloween movie that we had, right? So,
Yeah.
when
First
you
one
start to
came out
think
in
about it that way,
72,
right?
78. 78 was the first one.
Which is what this
Twen
game is supposed to be really focused on.
mhm. It was it 2018? 2018. But the last one from that was 2009.
So when you think about how long ago some of these were, right? So there is a level of nostalgia. And maybe this helps bring a new generation to getting to know Mike Myers and in a
Mhm.
more terrifying way, right? Um,
Yeah.
so that's also a potential. I don't know. I think there's a lot to be seen. What I played was a lot of fun, even though I was not a good Mike Myers. Again, some of it being the learning curve, right? Um, because there were some mechanics that at first I was like, I don't really get it. And then once it clicked. But then by the time it clicked, I was like, oh wait, I have like 4 minutes
Mm,
to try to get everybody. So there was, um,
yeah.
so that just wasn't gonna happen. But it was like, okay, I could definitely see where this will be a lot of fun. It is gonna have a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're like me and you've played a lot of some of these other games. And then it's like, okay, I have to unlearn some of that if I want to be decent at this one. Right?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Um, I hope it does well. I do hope it does
I
well.
really do too. I really do too. As someone who loves Michael, who's not a huge fan of the movies, but of Michael himself,
Mhm.
I really do hope it does well because I I think it's just, I don't know, it's just a good game.
No, that's fair.
I just hope um, I love Michael. He's my main on if I do play killer.
Mhm.
Um, so,
So
yeah.
you'll also have to unlearn quite a few things
Oh,
playing
yeah.
Halloween. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I will say, I think all the games that I play let me take that back actually slightly. 90% of the games that I played at PAX, I hope they do well. Um, I will say the games that did not itch a certain scritch or that I don't really care if they do well, I probably will not be writing about them, um, or posting anything about them. Because there were just some that I was like, "This feels very unpolished." Um, this is there were some that I was like, "What or who is this for?" Um, and there were 1 or 2 that I was just like, "This doesn't even feel like a game."
Mm,
Um, so but 90% of what I saw at PAX, like, I hope does extremely, extremely well, and none of the games that I am indifferent to are ones that I've mentioned on this podcast, right?
mhm. And
But
what might not be your cup of tea
yeah, might be for
will be
somebody
someone
else.
else's,
Mhm,
and I think that that's to say for anything you've seen at PAX, like, uh, we always say cozy is subjective and, to each his own. What might not be your cup of tea is probably someone else's, and even if it's not a
mhm.
game that's in your genre, it doesn't mean that it isn't a good game.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing, like, even some of the ones that I saw that I hope do well that were not in my genre, like the Paranormal Activity, right? I definitely see the appeal. I see, why people would be injured. I didn't mention it before, but Grave Seasons, which is like the Stardew meets horror, right? I was like,
Mhm,
I'm not going to play that game, but I 100% see the appeal in that game,
mhm,
right? I see why people want to play it. I see why people are interested in it. It's a Blumhouse Studios game. Yeah, like, I'm like and that's a game that I would watch people play, and I wanna know the mystery, but I won't actively play it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know, but there's only one, I can't remember the name of it, and I did not even bother to go look at it. But they kept sending emails, and it was like an AI created game, and I was like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm not." Like, that one, I hope it fails. I'll outright say it. If your game was created by AI, I hope it fails. No, no.
Mm.
Like, the game industry already has enough problems. We do not need AI creating video games for people.
Mhm.
Like, do not take the jobs away from the developers of games, the story writers of games, the artist of games, the design directors, the storyboarding artist, right? Like, do not take those roles away from them to make a game because you just want to make an AI game and make some money. No, fuck you, I hope your game tanks. But
You can't
otherwise
if you're just listening to the audio, and not watching the YouTube, I am actively shaking my head up and down, yes.
but otherwise, if you put time and energy into your game, right, even if I am not the audience for it, I hope it does well, and I hope that you continue
Mhm,
to make games, whether it's a passion
mhm,
project, whether it is your full-time gig, whatever, right? But if
mhm.
you were just pumping out AI slop, get the fuck out. I hate you, and I don't want you at my gaming cons.
No, because make AI to fold my laundry, do my dishes, do the things I don't want to do, or do the things that are keeping me from playing games made by brilliant people, talented people, creative people. Do
Mhm.
make things to do those things.
Yeah.
The laundry, the folding of clothes. Um,
Do
but
the
but
redundant stuff, right? Do the menial task. Do that stuff so
Mhm,
that I can engage with people's creative endeavors and so that I can take on my own creative endeavors.
mhm,
Give me the time and space to do the human things, art, creativity, social engagement, all of that, and let the mundane task that are sort of mindless or sort of, whatever, that are robotic, let those be done by AI, not creating the game. No, get
mhm.
out. And I'm not even opposed to I'm not opposed to people that are like, I need to use a little bit of AI to fix a problem or like I'm stuck somewhere. I'm not even opposed to that, right? Because especially if you're like trying to work on something on your own for whatever reason, right? Don't put it in the final product 100%, right? But if you need some help, I can I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to slam you for it, right? But I better not see the AI in the final product, and you should not be touting that your game is an AI game.
Mhm.
Like, because that I keep seeing, and it's just like, I'm like, I don't care that it's an AI game, right? And it's like, oh, no one's giving it a chance because it's AI. Yeah, of course not. I don't want to play it. I don't want to see what a robot can make. Like, no. I want a heart, a
Mhm.
soul, a mind, not just I know that a game at the end of the day is a whole bunch of coding, but I wanna be able to feel the heart and soul that went into the coding, not just blanket
Es
coding.
especially because you have so many games, and you and I have played very similar games, or even the same game where you hear the developer's heart and life story poured into
Mhm.
a game, and you can feel it in the moment, what they went through, what
Yep.
their heart song is in this game.
Yep.
I don't wanna hear some fake story made by I don't wanna hear a fake
Yeah.
emotion grabber. I wanna know people's real lived experiences through their game.
Mhm. 100%. And for the most part, that was the sentiment on the PAX floor too, like, speaking of developers. Developers, some that are very concerned about, like, AI in in the development of gaming, because obviously there are games that have AI,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're fighting enemies and stuff, there is some element of AI that is part of like regular gameplay. And that has existed
Mhm.
for a long time. We've talked about that on the podcast before, right? That is like the acceptable AI, right? The AI that is learning your movements to fight back to make your fight more engaging. We know that is AI,
Mhm.
that is fine, right?
Mhm.
Um, but there are developers that are also like concerned about what AI is capable of and where it's going and how it's going to continually make a difficult business even more difficult for them to survive and thrive in, which is so unfortunate because there's so many amazing things out there. And some of the games, like Cat Secretary, are very much like head on being like, we are anti AI to the point where our game is a cat secretary who is gonna basically have to take down like an AI
Mhm.
boss, right? And some are not as straightforward in that way, and that's totally cool and that's fine. Um, but the sentiment really being like from developers and PR people, like no AI. And I'm like, good, okay, I'm glad that for the most
Mhm.
part, we are still all on the same page. And I hope we continue to be
Mhm.
on that same page and that we do not let like the AI take over. I don't want to go to a gaming convention and it's just a PR person who's like, this game was developed by AI. And it's like, so there's no dev or anybody for me to talk to dive deeper into it. Like, I don't need to talk to the PR person about the game. Like, I don't want to play the game if it's AI generated, or if it's all AI made, but I like to hear from the people why and dive deeper. And I hope that we never lose that. But it's scary.
There the a game that's coming out later, probably, because this comes out on Monday probably.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, yeah, we have no
later
backlog right now.
oh, whoops.
Whoops.
Um, later after like, couple days after this, wow. After this podcast, later in this week, a review of mine will be up about a game I'm playing, and they make fun of AI all over, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Yes. Yes, we love it. We love it."
More of that,
Um,
please.
yes. Um, and it feels like AI is seeping into more and more of the daily, um,
Mhm.
in ways you don't want to.
Mhm.
Like, you go into Google, you type in something, and it's like, "Let me give you an AI overview." And you're like, "Can you just give me search?
Yeah.
Just give me searches." Or, I do have, I'm gonna call, because 'cause I'll trigger it, computers in my house where I can
Mhm.
ask them things and play
Yeah.
music on things, um, that they're like, "The AI Plus is now free if
Mhm.
you have a membership," and I'm like, "Can I turn it off, please? Like, I don't want that."
Mhm.
Um, I just feel like it's so casual now.
Yes.
It's not it's not okay, because it used to be a luxury.
Mhm.
Like, it used to be, like, it's luxurious, and now it's just common.
There. Yeah. It's just always there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's the thing, that it's just become, it's there.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I yeah, I hope that it goes away. Um, I mean, I know it's not ever gonna fully go away, but I do hope that maybe the bubble burst and then it does become optional,
Mhm.
right? Because again, I just can't imagine being like, "Let me play this game that's made entirely by AI. Let me only have AI filtered thoughts." Like those things are just
Mhm.
so ugh. I don't even have a word for it. But it's just miserable. And I think I realized so much more maybe this
Mhm.
PAX, like how much more speaking to people and just putting myself out there in ways was refreshing and connecting with people, right? Like obviously there's the dev interviews and speaking to the devs. But we even went to the Twitch after party, which normally we don't do. But we
Mhm.
went and we were just like talking to people and we sat in a corner talking to like the same 5 people for about an hour or 2 hours. And it was like, oh, this is like just humans speaking with humans, no AI filter, no nothing. And it just felt super refreshing to connect with people that like besides Sean, I didn't really know that well. Um,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just like in this world where AI is everywhere and, you know, all of that is everywhere. It's like I still want to be able to connect and feel that there is a human element, whether it is a human in front of me that I'm speaking to or feeling, you know, a human's story and their, their vision in a game or whatever that is like I still want to feel that. Like that is
Mhm.
important. And I know the game industry is a difficult industry in general, but I hope that it does not get overrun with AI. Um, because it will be sad if we lose that component of creativity in a way that is much more accessible than maybe some things are. But we'll
I
see.
100% agree. And hopefully, PAX 2027, we're both on the floor. We're both
Yeah.
doing cool things.
Yeah.
Um, checking out cool indie games that we can review and bring to you, viewers at
Exactly.
home.
Exactly. And we'll up the production quality on some of these interviews because these were I don't know. Like I said, I was putting myself out there in a different way and I was like, you know what? We're gonna record these. We're gonna make them videos. And then
Hey,
I'll just
the
ask for
first
forgiveness later.
the first step into doing cool things is taking that first step.
Yep.
Doesn't matter the quality.
Yeah, that's
You
why
know,
I
the
was like,
first episode of Girl Pod,
was just like,
the
turn it on.
pilot the pilot was just like, "Okay, here we go."
Here we
Like,
are.
there was no bells, no whistles. Now we've got a whole spiel. You've
I
added me
know.
to the team. We've got cool guests coming down the thing, we've had
We're
previously
doing
cool
things.
guests. Yes, so the
Mhm.
first step, there's gotta
Just
be
do it.
the first one to do the rest.
Yep. That's
So,
why I was like, we're just doing this. I think I
yeah.
told the rest of the editors, I was like, so I'm just gonna record these and put these up. Nobody said no, so I was like, okay.
I mean, you're in the middle first of all, you're in the middle of a showroom floor, and you're not the only media person there. So, you have to take in
Mhm.
consideration that, like, you've got 10, 15 minutes to interview this person,
Yep. Oh my
say all you
god,
wanna
so
say,
quick.
and it was only you and Sean. You had to probably split up multiple times, so you
Mhm.
had to put a camera down and
Hope for the
hope it's
best. Oh,
recording.
there are times where it's just me holding the stick out here and being like, "My arm is so tired."
Next year, we'll have a whole setup. We'll come with
Yeah.
backpacks and stands and lights and
And you know what really helps get all that happening? People who are listening to this and watching this, sharing
Mhm,
it with friends, helping to help us grow, getting our name out there so that way more people are like, "Yeah, you know what? I wanna do interviews with those 2 cool cats. That's who I wanna do interviews with. That's who I wanna
mhm,
talk to." So,
mhm.
like this episode and share it with your friends and, especially if maybe you had friends at PAX East that saw games and they wanna hear somebody else talk about the games, share it with them. Subscribe to the channel or to the Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening to us, talk about PAX and paranormal activity and scary things, even though we are not uh scary movie experts by any means.
Mhm.
And don't forget to check out the articles over on gamersocialclub.ca. Join the Discord to hang out with us. And if you're really, really feeling it, leave a comment on something that we did that was wonderful. Check out the video interviews. There'll be a few more going on throughout the next coming days because I don't think we have said this in a while, but we are just a whole bunch of people who just write about games and do game things because we like games. We are not professionals by any means, and most of us are working other jobs to pay the bills. So it takes us sometimes a little bit to get stuff up there, but it'll be up there for your enjoyment. But definitely like and share so we can do more big things and go to more conventions and have more really cool interviews because they're fun. And I hope you all find them fun to listen to. So, with that said, thank you for joining us on Girl Pod, and we will catch you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.